And so she has a lot of great information to share today about technology and education. So thanks for coming, and can we give a warm welcome to Anne Thorp.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So what I want to do very quickly is if you would just tell me your first name and what your major is going to be. And just, I know some of you are here because you were told to be here, right? There's an empty chair there, there's an empty chair there. For those of you that are sitting off to the side, if you want some sway, grab a chair. So your name, what drew you to be here, and your major. Start right here.
My name's Carter. I'm a social studies secondary education major and at 360.
Oh, okay. So that's part of your class. Okay, so if you're here just for your class, just say class.
And then I'm Blake Gavin, physical education major, and then class.
All right.
I'm Luke, I'm a special ed major, and then class.
Are you all here for class? Nobody came because you heard about me? Come on, I'm so disappointed. All right, okay, a couple of you are. All right, you don't have to say class then. You're all here for that reason then. Okay, I'm your instructor for the night. All right.
I'm Liv, and I'm a special educator.
I'm Emma, and I'm an elementary ed.
I'm Hunter, and I'm elementary ed.
I'm Kenzie, and I'm special ed.
Patrick, instrumental music education.
Oh, I love your math.
Thank you.
Megan, English, secondary.
Ellie, English for secondary.
Olivia, English, secondary.
I'm Hannah, I'm doing English secondary ed.
I'm Maddie, special ed. I'm Josie, I'm early childhood ed.
I'm Nick, secondary social studies and history.
Sitting on the chair, steps back there.
Oh, I'm Brooke, I'm English secondary ed.
And in front of Brooke.
I'm Morgan, I'm early childhood ed.
I'm Isabella, secondary science.
Luke Vitamites, secondary social studies.
I'm Kitty, elementary ed.
I'm Audra, elementary ed. I'm Lindsay, elementary ed.
I'm Maddie, early childhood.
Ellie, secondary English.
Joe, special ed.
Melanie, SPED. Riley, secondary special ed.
I'm Michael, I'm secondary social studies.
Emma, Spanish, K-12.
Christina, secondary math.
I'm Evan, secondary bio.
I'm Brennan, secondary social studies.
I'm Jackie, secondary French. I'm Aubrey, elementary ed. I'm Eliana, early childhood ed.
I don't care.
I'm Amelia, I'm early childhood ed. I'm Hannah, I am secondary math.
I'm Anna, I'm secondary English education.
I'm Emma, I'm elementary education.
I'm Gina, I'm secondary math education.
I'm Cole, I'm secondary math.
All right, welcome. Boy, a lot of variety. That's great. So you're here to learn about technology and education. How many of you have worked with me before with Dr. Finn? Just one. All right. So I do come out here a couple times a year and work with Dr. Finn also on meeting the multiple needs of learners in the classroom. So I'm going to talk tonight about technology and education. What is it? What does it mean? What might it look like? What's the landscape? And a little bit about what I do. So here we go. And I have to hang out over here because I don't have some of these. So the first thing you're going to do is we're going to play a game called One Word. And so if you have a paper, if you don't, here's an extra. Fold it. If you have a double, if you have a couple, share them. Listen carefully. You're going to fold it like a hot dog bun. Hot dog bun. That's the elementary way to tell your kids to fold a paper, hot dog, long ways. The other way, the short way is called hamburger. Here's an extra for somebody. So hot dog is the long way, hamburger is the short way. Pick one side, can I borrow yours? Long ways, and put a star on it. We have some extra stuff right here if anybody needs it. Put a star on one side. That's going to signify your starting point, okay? Your starting point. So, and I need you to write your word nice and big so I can see it from up here. All right, we have a seat right here for somebody. So here's the question. You get one word only. A hyphen does not one word make. So don't try to cheat and put two words with a hyphen in the middle, all right? What one word comes to mind when you hear ed tech. One word that comes, making sure it's nice and big. You've got markers. Please use your markers so I can see it from up here. What one word comes to mind? Uh-oh, the iPad fell on the floor here. Whoever was managing that. What one word comes to mind when you hear ed tech? There is no right or wrong answer. This is giving me a springboard. Yes, nice and big, please. I know some of you are going, seriously, it's 5:30, you want us to finish? Yep, just for an hour. Okay, once you're finished, would you please hold your word up nice and high so I can see it? As I read the words, if I say your word, please put it down, okay? Innovation, new, teaching, Chromebook, immersive, technology, discover, exploratory, iPad, computers, Kahoot, helpful, innovation, progressive, activities, opportunity, assistive, YouTube, creative, and accommodations. All right, so those are a lot of different words. Some of you use some of the same words, but those were a lot of different words. So knowing that those were a lot of different words, what does that tell you about EdTech? And by the way, my questions are rhetorical. I do expect answers.
Not one thing.
It's not one thing. You're exactly right. There's no one answer. And it's not going to look the same from one classroom to the next, one building to the next, and so on. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through this. And once you get out as a teacher, you're going to have to use technology in your classroom in some way. And the way you're using it as a learner is probably not going to be what you're doing as a teacher. Okay? So my next question then is, what's the definition of technology? Anybody, just holler your answer out. You don't have to raise your hand. Definition of technology, no Googling.
A tool.
Say it again?
A tool.
Tool, okay. Anybody else? How many of you are thinking of a device? Like a computer or a phone, okay? So the actual definition of technology is anything invented to complete a task. So all this swag I just gave you is technology, okay? So where did we get the idea that technology means a computer or some sort of device? It shifted years ago. And so now when we hear the word technology, we don't think of a tool. And by the way, I will send this, or I already sent it to the tech team. They can share it with you afterwards. So you don't need to write things down. So somehow we got to the idea that technology is something separate and has to be digital or electronic. That is not the case. Okay? So technology is anything invented to complete a task. So keep that in mind while you're thinking about, good grief, I am popular tonight. Hey. Oh, you don't need to do that.
I want to make
Well,
it
I've
easier.
got some other stuff that I'm gonna need to be right here, and I'll mess that thing up. You guys, I will go backwards, forward, up and up.
You don't want to?
No, I'm fine. So then the next thing I want you to think about is, what is an example of technology? I just kind of answered that for you, because all this swag I gave you is considered technology. Way back when I started teaching, we used overhead projectors. That was a technology back then. That was cool and updated too. And the teachers who got the new overhead projectors were the special teachers. I got the old stuff until I got to be vetted enough. So an example of technology. So what would be an example of non-technology? This one's a little tougher.
Think hard.
Is a mattress technology?
Yes.
Yes. Is sleep technology? No, because it's not a tool that was invented, right? Are boots technology? Is walking technology?
No.
Okay, so think about it that way. If it was invented to complete a task, it's a technology. Okay, so just know those differences when you start thinking about using technology in your classroom. What we just did with doing this, is this no tech or low tech? It's really low tech when you look at the actual definition of technology. However, in reality, it would be considered no tech because it's not using a device. Okay? So I want to make sure that I just want to clarify that for you. A lot of people, even people in my role and my age, don't understand that technology is simply something that was invented to complete a task. So the next thing, technology is not always digital, as we said. Make something better, easier, quicker, faster, more accurate, fair, and it is always created by multiple people over time with each adding to others' work. So think about, so one of you mentioned Chromebook. Think about the Chromebook. You guys are probably pretty young for this, but the first Chromebook that came out, the only thing it could do was browse the internet. And people were just so excited they're going to go out and buy a Chromebook because it was cheap. Then they get home with their Chromebook and find out it doesn't run any of their programs. Okay? So the Chromebook you use today, I hope you're not still using that Chromebook, the Chromebook you use today has been worked on by multiple people over time, and there have been many, many iterations. I read an article, a new thing you can do with a touch Chromebook. So that first Chromebook was not a touch Chromebook. But everybody saw that price tag and said, dude, I'm buying one of those. And then they regretted it because it didn't do what they needed to do. Today, it's a very viable tool. When the iPad first came out, it was nothing but a lot of just apps. That's all it was apps. Now, it's got all kinds of amazing built-in native apps and tools that were not in the first few iterations of the iPad. And the same with the iPhone. We're on what, iPhone 13 something? So thinking about that over time, and not one person did it all together. So what's my story? Well, I graduated from Aquinas College, and long time ago, and I have my undergrad in elementary education with my minor in reading. So I went on to teach elementary education for 20 years. During that 20 years, at one point, for 1 year, I was a librarian. What does that tell you? I enjoyed being in the classroom more than I did the library. But also during that time was when computers started to become much more educational. So Apple IIe, way old computer, the old floppy disk. How many of you have seen a floppy disk? How many of you never seen a floppy disk? You'd be grateful. And then they went into the hard disks and on and on and on. And so that's where my technology interest started, was when those computers came out. And I just dove right into it and continued to work on it. So my 20 years of elementary teaching was in Houston, Texas, or in the suburbs of Houston. And then I moved back here. I grew up here, moved to Houston, taught there for 20 years. Came back here, and because my son needed to come back here to be an ice hockey goalie. We had ice hockey in Houston, and he was top of the line goalie. He wanted to come here where his advantages were greater. So we moved here. I didn't have a job. Put all my stuff in storage. I was a basement troll in my sister's house for a few months while I looked for a job. One night, I can't even tell you where I found it. I found this job online. I was like, oh my God, I could do that. And so I looked at it. It's like 5 o'clock in the evening, right? The application was due at midnight that night. So I scrambled, got it done, and I'm still there 20 years later. So that's how I got where I am. I mean, seriously, it was just a wonderful gift. So I'm instructional technologist at the Ottawa Area ISD. I have been there I'm in my 20th year. When I started, it was a new position, and you know what they told me? Make your own work. Okay. So anyway, it evolved into lots of different things, but I do, well, I'll go into that in a little bit. But 14 years ago, I also became the director of our REMC, which is the Regional Educational Media Center. So you see REMC on a lot of this. It is a state organization, and I am one of 28 REMCs in that state organization. So I'm one of 28 REMC directors. So real quickly, what is an ISD? It's an educational service center, or educational service agency. We work with K-12 districts providing consolidated support and services. Why am I telling you this? Because almost all of you are going to be educators, right? There are ISDs all across the state of Michigan. So regardless whether you get a job in Ottawa County, Kent County, Osceola County, or Munising, wherever, you have an ISD and a REMC. Take advantage of those services. Any of you student teaching yet? Not yet? When you get into student teaching, bring the awareness to your teacher about what the ISD and the REMC has to offer. So here's our vision. We provide and enrich educational opportunities for students, schools, and communities. There's our mission statement. I'm not going to read it to you. And then our practice is, our tagline is Learn, Serve, Lead. And that's what we do. I will tell you the Ottawa Area ISD is one of the most amazing places to work. Our superintendent is Dr. Kyle Mayer. Anybody know Dr. Mayer? No? Nobody's his niece or anything? So I can talk about, no, really. He's my former boss, and he was amazing. I love working for the ISD. And so just know that the ISD is out there. I heard a lot of you say social studies. We have social studies consultant. I heard a lot of you say math. We have math consultant. I heard some of you say ELA. We have ELA consultants. We have all of that to work with teachers, whether it's in groups or individuals. Okay? So just know that. The next thing I want to talk to you about is our REMC, which you have our little gifts from there. This is the local. I am REMC 7. Like I said, one of Michigan's, oh, that's not right. It's supposed to say 28 educational service agencies. This is, oh, I didn't change that. That's still from the ISD. I didn't change that. Sorry about that. So I am one of 28 REMCs in the state of Michigan. I'm just number 7. I have 2 counties. I have Allegan and Ottawa. And so I work with teachers and students in both Allegan and Ottawa counties on REMC services. So I have to know where the line is in my work. So if Allegan has somebody that provides a service, then I do not. Okay? They do not have an instructional technologist, but that's not part of my job because that's not REMC 7 related. Okay? So we provide educators in Allegan and Ottawa counties equitable access to information, PD, teaching materials, and resources. The REMC Association of Michigan. Now these are links, so when you get this, if you want to explore it further, feel free. I'm not going to now, in essence of time, but there are, like I said, there are 28 of us. This association is a nonprofit organization, and the members are the Regional Educational Media Center. So I'm director of REMC 7. I've got friends all over the state, and tomorrow we are all convening in Mount Pleasant for the first time in 2 years to get back together and reconnect and start rebuilding our working coming out of COVID. We do get together several times a year. There is a subset of REMC directors, and they are called the REMC Instructional Technology Specialists. I am one. I am actually both, the REMC and the RITS, because I'm the only one in the role. We also have district level, and they're called the MET, Michigan Ed Tech Specialists. Okay? So we have a lot of camaraderie. We do a lot together. We work together. We teach each other. We learn with and from each other. We share resources. We have a listserv. Stuff's going back and forth all the time. Absolutely wonderful people. And I learn more from them than anywhere else. Well, Twitter. Maybe I learn more. So OEISD and REMC. So the next thing I want to talk about is what is EdTech really? So some people are specifically instructional technologists, education technology, whatever, And some of you may end up going into that after being a teacher for a little while. You might go, oh, I really love this. And I do not have a technology degree. My, like I said, my undergrad is elementary ed and with a reading. My master's is business technology management. And then my PhD is education technology management. So you might find that path. I found that path after I worked with technology with my students for a while. I loved it. So what is it really? I'm going to do this kind of fast. What is it? Anybody know this? Who's this? Yeah, it's the Jetsons. What are they doing here? I'm going to age myself here a little bit. This is what we watched for cartoons in the 60s. What are they doing there? What does that look like today?
A video call.
Zoom, right? Yeah. Yeah. Who would seriously, write this down. Jetsons, Jetsons. Go watch some of the Jetson cartoons and see how much of that is today's reality. And seriously, wasn't it about the 60s? Yeah. Yeah, so Zoom. Anybody know what that is? 3D printer. Yeah, I teach 3D printing. I'm going to show you all this, every bit of this stuff I do. Anybody know what that is? It's a robotic arm. Okay? Yeah, I have 6 of those that I loan out. And I take them with me, I do the lessons. This is Bloxels. These are little blocks. Okay, this is what I call unplugged technology because we're just using the blocks. You guys know what that is. And then these are more tools that I use. So this is a Q robot. I have double monitors at home. You guys know Moodle, right? Yeah, I'm a certified Moodle administrator and instructor. I've actually met the founder of Moodle. Martin Dugan, Thomas is his name. Anybody know what that is up in the corner? Yeah, it's Oculus. Yeah, I do Oculus training too. I use a mouse. I use different kinds of pens and stylus. Anybody know what that is down there in the corner? It's a little robot that's about this big around. It's called an Ozobot. It is a robot that is programmed using color coding. Yes, I teach that too. I do a lot of recordings, microphone. Anybody know what that second one is that says set top seconds, repeat 2 times? What is that called? Block coding. Yep, I teach that too. Whoops, I went too far. And then that's what's called a code and go mouse. There's a laptop. This right up here, I guess that's their little maid or whatever. How many of you have a Roomba or one of those automated vacuums at home? Yeah, I have one too. Her name is Mavis. She's amazing. She's my new best friend. I'm telling you. There's various iPads. And then up here, this long white one, this is a new program that I'm learning to use for our checkout program instead of, like a library checkout program for the materials we have in our learning lab at REMC. So one more slide. Cruiser, obviously we use a lot, still use a lot of USBs. Anybody know what that big circle is in the middle? That's a robot named Sphero. It's all about this big. He is waterproof. And they now have the Bolt also, but this is the first one. You code them to do lots of different things. And it's a ton of fun. But a lot of my teachers like to borrow them to do water projects. And so they can code them to behave in water a certain way. You know the kids love that. Oops. Up here at the top, oops, oh, go the wrong way.
They can sign things out of REMC.
Correct. We're not doing that just yet, simply because we're just not ready. Plus, we're restructuring. So up in the corner is one of those speakers, Bluetooth speaker. There's some coding. This is snap circuits, so I teach circuits also. Logitech, I use a camera like that almost daily. So lots of different tools, and I'm so fortunate because in my job, they're purchased for me. Well, I buy them out of my work budget. but whatever I need in order to be successful in my job is part of my budget. So it's absolutely wonderful. So this is just a small area of the Learning Lab we're converting. The whole area used to be offices, but since about 4 years ago, our department was told if we want to go remote, pack up and go. They said, if you want to come back, we want to have room for you. So I have a remote office in my home. And so I don't spend a whole lot of time up at the Educational Services Building, but this is my space here, my Red C7, and you can see a little bit along that back wall, some of those tools that I just showed you. You can see Q is up there at the very, very top. But I'm turning this into a learning lab where I am going to have people come in and work with me and learn, and even bring students in to learn and practice in that area on whatever they choose. One thing I'm working on right now is preschool STEM, working with preschool and young fives in integrating STEM effectively, unplugged. Okay? And then I'm also working on some circuitry. Can you guys see the operation game up there? You know, that whole operation game is just based on circuits. The whole thing is just circuits. So it's a great example of things. So I try to bring in a lot of just day-to-day stuff into my teaching also, as well as industries. So you saw the little tiny robot that codes by color. Those are already used in hospitals, factories, and so on. And so we talk a lot about that. That robotic arm, that's one of my favorite lessons. There are robotic arms everywhere. And so the kids learn to program a robotic arm. They design one. They learn about them and prosthetics and all that. 3D printing. I have 3D printers for loan. Anything I'm telling you about, I have for loan. Okay. So let's keep going.
But they'd have to be a student teacher to sign it out.
Well, they actually would have to be, well, if they're in Ottawa County, yes. For this kind of stuff, I serve all schools in Ottawa County. If you're in Allegan County, your school has to be a REMC member.
Okay.
But if you have questions, just contact me,
Okay.
and we'll figure it all out. So how many of you are familiar with technology standards?
Everybody is! Yay!
But only 3 people raised their hand. Okay, all right. So we have the ISTE standards for students, the ISTE standards for teachers. You're all proficient in all of these, right?
They all will be proficient in the teacher ISTE standards
Awesome.
by the time they graduate.
Awesome. And do you guys know about MyTex? They're basically the Michigan iteration of the ISTEs. I was on the team that rewrote them to match what we want. There's a whole set of MyTex resources there, and now we also have the Michigan K-12 computer science standards. All of this is stuff that I do, okay? So when you think about ed tech, it's not just as simple as get out your Chromebook or open Google. So what does an ed tech really do? But wait, first, what's the title? We're talking about ed tech. My title, I'm an instructional technologist. But look at all these different titles for the same job that I do. And these are all taken from people here in Michigan, my counterparts in Michigan. Some are at the district level, some are at the state level like I am, or county level. So you've got consultants, you see STEM is up there, director, instructional tech, PD and technology coach, tech coach, but we all do the same thing. So there's lots of different names. So if you decide to look for a job in ed tech, just know that there's a lot of different titles. All right, now the next thing though that I want to show you is what does that mean as far as what we or they do. So I sent out this survey to my counterparts to see what we really do. Because you think, oh, instructional tech, Chromebook, iPad, right? That kind of stuff. Somebody said Kahoot earlier. So just looking at this, outreach, budget planning, schedules changing constantly, same with mine. Constant schedule changes. People will go, oh, can you come in on this day? Or when can we meet? And I'll give them a window and I'll tell them you better grab one fast. even though I'm mostly remote right now, I'm not out in classrooms doing the shoulder-to-shoulder teaching that I was doing pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, I was out in classrooms 4 days a week. I always had one day of just remote work where nobody bothered me, so I could do my planning and lesson planning and getting everything ready to go. But looking at all of that, planning, coordinating, providing training, integration, and information, varies from day to day. So this is number 7. I just want to show you. We just keep going. Design creative solutions to professional development. Some of my counterparts are so creative. I have to tell you, some days I just feel dogged and worthless because I look at what some of them are doing. I've got one who's doing, 5 days of gratitude for Thanksgiving, and she's got a different tech tool for 5 days. Same one, she's doing 12 days of Christmas. I've got another one who for Halloween they put together tricks and treats from Google, and it was a 10-day PD that they could complete for credit. I'm sitting here going, man, I could do all that too, but I'm not that creative. So, professional relationships, phone calls, video conferencing. But look at this. It keeps going and going and going and going. So just know that there is a lot to the job. And this is not the stuff that you learn overnight. You learn over time. So when I decide to retire, which will be a long, 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 long time, but I often think about the person who's going to come into my role and what they're going to have to bring to that role in order to really come in and pick up where I'm leaving off to a degree. Okay, so keep all of those differences in mind. So then the next thing is, what are some statewide initiatives? We're working on statewide initiatives. That's part of what we'll be doing over the next few days with the REMC Association. As you can see, if you look at one of your, the sticky note says REMC Save. That is a Save Bid project, and what that is organizations, sales organizations, bid to be part of our project. And what they do is they have to sign contracts and they have to be a good viable vendor and so on. But then what happens is they sell their products to our members at a discount. These are also available for nonprofits, so hospitals, museums, healthcare systems, church schools, that sort of thing. Also available for that. So people get them dirt cheap. So some of the stuff are pennies on the dollar. A little AAA battery or AA battery. Those things are expensive, right? Okay, you can get a pack of 4 for 98 cents on the REMC bid. It has to be for your school. You can't go out and shop there personally and just throw stuff in a cart like you do on Amazon. But it gets really great discounts for our schools. We also have spot bid, which opens from like April to September for ordering new devices. So they get a good discount on that. So what happens to the difference? The difference then, so let's say the batteries are $3, you get them for 98 cents. The $2.02, that company gives it back to the REMC Association, so then we turn it around and we put it toward initiatives for our teachers, our students, and the educators across Michigan. Okay, so we have a lot of statewide initiatives that are available. So loan programs, like you said, I loan materials out to our local schools. Some of them will not ever go out without me. So I have 6 drones. Any of you drone flyers? No? Man, I'll tell you what. I didn't think I would love drones, and I love drones. I went to the training for the drones because REMC Association gave me free drones. Oh my gosh, I love it. So those will never go out without me. Okay, my robotic arms, I'm not sure I'll ever let them go out without me anymore because they come back broken and they take hours to fix. Not to mention the time it takes to get the pieces to repair it. So there are some things that I don't loan out. 3D printers, once they've been through my training, they can borrow a 3D printer whatever they want. Same with my robots. All of my electronics have training with them. They can't just call up and say, hey, can I borrow 3 of your 3D printers? They have to go through training with me so that I know that they know how to use it effectively. I mean, we're talking about a lot of money sitting in the area that you saw the picture of. STEM, computer science, computational thinking, all part of my job. Of course, we are all learners. We continue to be learners. I model lessons. I also work with a lot of teachers. We design the model lessons together. I don't just throw something together based on what they want. We work together, so there's a lot of collaboration. I'm a trainer. I also own my own business. I teach classes just like you guys at night. I say at night because I don't do it during the school day. I'm not going to cheat my organization. But I actually teach aspiring administrators and new administrators who are working to get their administrative degree. I work remotely, but I also work in person. Yesterday I was in person for a meeting. Today I was remote. I am a purchasing coach, so sometimes people will call me and say, okay, I need to buy this. What do you recommend? And so I go out and do some research for them, and then bring it back. I also do research on tools and materials for teachers to use in their classroom because teachers are way too busy to find this stuff themselves. I work on site, whether it's in schools, at the ISD, here. I host professional development. I also speak at conferences. How many of you are going, I don't want that job? I'm a teacher coach. How many of you say, I do want that job? I'm telling you, I love my job. Love my job. No 2 days are the same, and I do love that. We are also authors. Many of us have been published in a variety of areas. I've been published in magazines, but I've also been published in a lot of our REMC publications that go out. It's not a requirement, so don't panic. Conference presenter, I think I said that already. Mentors. I am also the mentor for all new REMC directors, but many of us mentor new teachers. We mentor students. Lots of mentoring. And we lead Twitter chats. Yesterday was my day to lead a slow Twitter chat around computer science. But I've also led the speedy, have any of you ever done a speed Twitter chat, like for over an hour? You should require that. That would be a ton of fun. I used to require that for one of the classes I taught for aspiring administrators. It's a ton of fun. They go really fast. It's the fastest hour of your life. And so let's talk about the future of educational technology. So when you think about being in the classroom as a teacher, how's it going to change? Well, it's going to change a lot. So in short, nobody really knows. Why do you think I say that? Nobody really knows.
In the past 20 years, like you see how much technology's evolved, like it could do the same thing in the next 20 or even like 5 years.
Exactly, exactly. Somebody over here had their hand up? Oh, you're saying the same thing? Yeah. Even in the last few years. So when a technology is released, a digital technology is released, it's obsolete before it's even off the shelf. Did you know that? So I bought a brand new iPhone. I got an iPhone 13 Pro now. It's obsolete. They're already working on the iPhone 14 or whatever's next by Samsung or Google or whomever. Next week, I'm so excited. Got a new family member coming. Her name is Scarlett. And she's a 2022 Kia Sorento. Because I don't have a car big enough to drive 5 grandchildren around. And so that car, it's already made. It's got 2 miles on it. But it's going to be delivered next week. The cars that they're making after this are so far beyond what I'm getting. And that's fine with me. I mean, I don't care. I want to fit 5 children in it. And I want a high safety rating. And I'm very excited to have a nice big monitor that's going to tell me where I need to go and what road to turn on. So thinking about the technologies, look at Tesla. It's a self-driving car, right? Do you guys have any self-driving anything here at home? No? I've seen some colleges have self-driving pizza delivery. Yeah. And so it codes and it follows code and it stops. You meet it at the pizza delivery stop. It doesn't go to your door like a pizza driver would. So, and then there's also, I believe there's some in downtown Grand Rapids, I'm not 100% certain, of self-driving cabs. You just get in it, tell it where you want to go. I don't know if they're operated by apps. I don't know how any of that works. But just think about that. You know, when I was a kid, I mean, we didn't even have seatbelts in our cars. That's how old I am. You think I'm lying? I'm not lying. I will also tell you, I remember when the first microwave was invented. I was 17 years old. I will also tell you that I remember when color TV came out. That's how old I am. So when I was teaching, I think I was teaching, I don't remember what grade I was teaching. I taught 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. Anyway, I told one of my, we were talking about cooking, I told the kids that we didn't have microwaves when I was a kid. And one of them goes, "How did you cook?" I was like, oh boy, I really am far removed from the life they live. And then you guys, do you ever do the process of writing process with your students, or you're learning how to do that, or remember doing that in school? Make a peanut butter sandwich, how many of you had to do that? Write it all out, or act that. I asked my kids one day, I said, well, we're gonna write about making cookies, and they go, what do you mean, you just slice them? I didn't have any of that when I was a kid. So things have changed so immensely. I mean, I have a Roku that I use every morning for exercising. I use YouTube. All I gotta do is talk to it, and it does what I want it to do. You know, I mean, I talk to my phone all the time. I put reminders in it. I tell it to make an appointment, I open an app, all of that kind of thing. My aunt, who lived to be 99 years old, and she's been gone now, probably 12 years, she said, you know, back in the day, we used to be excited when we saw an automobile drive by. She goes, now we get excited when we see a horse go by. So that tells you what she's seen and the shifts she's seen in her life. So when we think about it, no one really knows. But I will say, these are what's going to happen. Emphasis on computer science. This is actually Computer Science Week for our Twitter chat. Coding. Anybody familiar with coding? Anybody like to code? Gamers? Anybody? You play games on your phone? Yeah. You know every single day you live by code, right? Just getting out of bed in the morning is the first step of your code. No, sorry, waking up is the first step of your code. Turning off your alarm would be the second step, and so on, right? So coding is simply patterns and if-then statements. So I work a lot with students with that too. I do love that. If anybody had told me 4 years ago I would love coding, I would have called them a liar. But I'm loving it. Computational thinking is another one. Inclusion, meaning every single tool must meet the need of every student. Okay? Now, I'm not talking about assistive technology. I'm talking about general. And so then look at the next one, meeting the needs of all learners. There is absolutely no reason that a student should be left out of learning, because we have all the tools to meet their needs. We just need to know what those tools are. And that's where I come into play. I help a lot of teachers with that. They'll contact me and say, I have a student that needs this. What do you recommend? And in some cases, I do have to send them on to our assistive technology consultant. I am not assistive technology. Assistive technology is specific to special ed. I'm not that. I'm gen ed. She and I do work together on things, but I'm general ed. And then any changes that come along. So think back to the day all of a sudden you got word that, oh, school's closed, you're going remote. What happened to education during those first few weeks? Probably not, you probably didn't see a ton of difference because you guys are Moodle users already, right? But what about those schools and classrooms that were not using it? There was so much scrambling on ordering enough Chromebooks for every kid to have one. People ordered their Chromebooks in April of that year. They didn't show up till December or January. So the supply chain was an issue even way back then. They were scrambling to find Wi-Fi's. We had school buses go park in different neighborhoods. The students would ride their bikes or drive down or walk down and use the Wi-Fi on the bus to do their work if they didn't have what they needed at home. I had a teacher who every single session I taught, she went down and used the Wi-Fi on the bus because her Wi-Fi in her home was so spotty that she couldn't do it from home. We also had the scrambling of buying hotspots for certain students who needed them, or certain classrooms who needed to have specific elements met. So changes that come along, things are going to happen that's going to change the landscape. And so at times, you gotta turn on a dime, and you gotta be ready for it. At that time, like I said, I was out in classrooms 4 days a week. I didn't know what to do when that identity shifted from being out in classrooms all the time to standing in front of a computer for 10, 11, 12 hours a day, because I was on so many task forces, being technology, that was the first thing that got called in. I was on so many task forces that I was in Zoom meetings all day during the work day, and then at night I had to do my work, if that makes sense. So that was a huge shift then. I'm still very much remote. I'm not gonna lie to you, I do love it. But and it'll never go back to the way it was. It just won't. So, changes that come along. So, flip your paper over, the side without the star, and now, what one word comes to mind when you hear EdTech? Nice and big. I'll go through some of those websites after this, then, to get a little extra time. Once you've written your word, now, if you changed your word, put an exclamation point at the end. And if you didn't, I don't want you to think anything of it. I just want to see how many you changed your word. Hold it up once you've got it written down. Same thing, if you hear your word, please set your card down so I don't have to read every single one of them. Availability, opportunity, helpful, diverse, expanding, creativity, resources, engaging, change, progress, inventive. My gosh, so far we don't have any. Accommodating, change, inclusion, I can't see it. Broad, variation, possibility, endless, robots. What did you say?
Evolving.
Evolving. Did I miss any overview? So, what does that still tell you about the world of EdTech? It's not the same anymore, right? Right? So, so know that, and many of you did change your words, so that's good. So, what are your goals when it comes to technology and EdTech, other than being proficient in all the standards so that you can pass the class, right? What are the goals you have for yourself?
Not be overwhelmed with everything that is out there, for me to try to focus on something that will help me do what I need to do.
And that is an extremely valid point. Yes, it's easy to get overwhelmed, but that's why you have people like me, so that I can help narrow it down. So somebody mentioned Kahoot earlier. I have some people who use nothing but Kahoot, but you know what? There's a new one out called Lookit.
Oh,
Blooket. It's way more fun. But people don't know about it because they're stuck in that Kahoot little pigeonhole. There's lots of other things out there too that you can use. So what about, how many of you take notes on your devices, whether it's on your phone or an iPad or your Chromebook? What do you use? Just holler out what you use.
OneNote.
Oh, a lot of OneNote users? Google Docs, yep. What if all you Google Docs users were told you have to use OneNote? What if all you OneNote users were told you have to use Google Docs? Okay? You don't have to answer the question, but my point is this, is if I put out an array of chocolates here and you come and take the one you want and I tell you you can't have it, you have to take this one, everybody has to have the same one, what am I doing to you? I'm shutting you down, right? So menu of options is always, always, always necessary. I was teaching an iPad class one night, and I had, I don't even know how many people. One night I taught when I had 65 people show up. But one person said to me, she goes, what are some good apps for a kindergartner to learn math? Or she said, what are some good math apps for kindergarten? What would be a reasonable answer for that, do you think? There's not one. And you know what I said to her? I said, ask a kindergartner. This was about 10 years ago. Because I told her, I said, my brain is 50 years old. I said, I can't think like a kindergartner. I said, you're going to have to get on a menu of apps, maybe 3 or 4. Let the students explore them. Find the one that works best for their learning brain. The bottom line is you have to meet the needs of the learning brain. And that's when I was talking about meeting the multiple needs of the learner. We've heard all this before. And you've got to meet the needs of the learning brain. And please don't sit there and think, oh, it's all about differentiation, because it is not. It is not. That's a whole other evening, but it is not. So questions. What questions are niggling in your mind? Ask me anything. I know one of you, somebody's thinking, how many kids do you have? They have 5 grandchildren. I have 1. Yes, he has 5 children. Same one. People kind of go, what? So while you're thinking of your questions, let's see. Oh, here, there's my email address. That's my Twitter. If you're going to get a copy of this, so you don't have to write anything down if you don't want to. And so thank you and all the best to you. And happy Thanksgiving, by the way. Can you believe it's next week? How did that happen?
Already, it's
How did
snuck
that happen?
up.
So while you're thinking about your questions, I'm just going to go back and I just want to show you. No, there is an easier way to do this. I just want to show you the REMC Association of Michigan, because we have for anybody, these are out on the web, you can find it at anywhere. Oh, I got it here. We have classrooms and resources, we have professional learning, and then this is REMC Save, the saving through volume by, that's what I'm trying to come up with, volume by. We offer things called play dates, which are from 4 to 6 in the evening. It's a 100% digital. Play date stands for something, digital technology integration, but it's a lot of fun. And so lots of different resources. So I encourage you that when you are working on lesson plans as a student teacher or whatever, come right on over here and take a look at the classroom resources we have. Feel free to email me too if you want some assistance or you have some questions. I'll be happy to help you. By all means, I'll be happy to help you. So, questions. Anybody have any questions that are niggling in your mind?
How do you get it all done? Woo-hoo!
I will tell you, I finally learned that I don't have to give 200% of myself anymore. I finally learned that my 100% is enough, it is good enough. And oftentimes, many of the people that come to me they're either new to it, or they're so overwhelmed that any help I can give them is appreciated, or any knowledge I can give them is appreciated. So and I'm not going to lie to you, I have lists and lists and lists and lists, and I have mind maps of things of where to go. Right now, in today's landscape, though, most of us are just leaving our teachers alone. They come to us when they need something. We're there to help, but we are not planning professional development. We are not going into their buildings because they're tired. They are tired. So this is a great time for me. I'm doing lots of learning, I'm doing lots of development, lots of writing, lots of integration, and a lot of collaborating. Yep. Any questions? Nobody? What color's my new car? Somebody's thinking that. It's passion red, and her name will be Scarlet. My current car is also red. She's named Ruby. Name your car. Name your car. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you all very much. Please leave the markers. Those are my personal markers out of my personal business stash, and I brought them all. Everything else is yours, though.